12, new business. 12A, declare REG Architects, Inc., the Morganti Group, Inc., and the insurance company of the state of Pennsylvania in default.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Second. Anyone want to come up? Thank you.
Thank you. I apologize for my demeanor. My name is Mike Olney. I am the Vice President of Corporate Affairs with the Morganti Group, and at 4 o'clock, I didn't even know we were on the agenda. We are a company, a construction company that's been in business for 100 years. In recent memory, I'm here with Jerry Kelly, who's the VP of Operations. To my knowledge, we've never been held in, never had this happen, where a city has determined that we've been in default or account. Serious. You go after a bonding company, it sticks to the reputation, and we wouldn't be around 100 years if we thought that way. At 4 o'clock, when I found out we were on this agenda, again, we were never notified by the city, never notified by the city attorney, nothing. So had I not gotten a call from someone, I wouldn't be here. I called our attorney. He's in Miami, he couldn't be here. He didn't even know about it. No one knew about it. I called REG, they sent me some correspondence, and the reason, I guess I'm asking, I forget what I'm asking in a second, but so you understand, I get the seriousness of this. We do as a company, as a construction company. We built this based upon specs of an architect. It was not a design build. We built it based upon plans we were given. But we as a construction company certainly acknowledge the seriousness of it, and we've been a part of discussions with REG in the city for far too long, and I get that. But when I asked the attorney for REG, I said, where are we on this? Because we've not been copied. And he sent me some correspondence as late as February 16th, which I guess is today, where they're still working, and I don't want to drag this commission into the weeds, because you have staff that's working on this, but there is a product type, something called Schulte, and there's correspondence that's still going on to try to find the solution that would work for the city. So that was going on as of this morning, and bam, we're being held in default. My request is this. I apologize. I don't have an attorney here, but my request is that we give this at least a couple weeks. I understand that the city manager is impatient, and I don't blame you. I understand that you're all impatient. I don't blame any of you. But to hold a construction company that's not, and to go against our bond, those of you who know anything about construction, that's about as serious as it gets. Interesting enough, REG is not even here. We're here, and I'm here by mistake. I would ask that you give us a couple weeks. All I can do is pledge to you that we will push REG. I get it, message heard from the city regarding going against our bond, but my ask is that give us a couple weeks before you pull the trigger on going against our bond and defaulting us. And I'm just saying that a default to a construction company, those of you who are in the business or know how that works, haunts you forever. And I don't think we, Morganti, deserve that. I want to help. My pledge to you, and Jerry's here, will help. We'll push this thing. I will push REG. I am asking for forgiveness at this point, or an extension of time, but please, at this point, work with us, or give us an opportunity to push REG, work with your staff, and let me get my counsel involved, because I am blindsided. I'm standing here hat in hand. So that's my ask, and I apologize for rambling a little bit, but as I said, at 4 o'clock, I didn't know I'd be coming to Delray. I'm from Tallahassee. I didn't even know I'd be here. So with that, that's what I would ask. And the 2 weeks. So, thank you.
City Attorney?
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Commissioners. We do have Michael Kennedy, who's here, who is a construction attorney that we retained back in 2013 when these issues first came, to fruition, and the city wasn't receiving much assistance from REG or Morganti. Michael Kennedy has been assisting the city since that time to try to find a resolution of these issues without having to find them in default and without having to file litigation. It's come to the point now, and Mr. Kennedy can provide you more facts, that we can't seem to get them to respond to us. And that's sort of where we're at now.
Mr. Kennedy?
Thank you very much.
It has gotten to the point, we entered into a tolling agreement several months ago. And that's like, everybody take your breath, let's try to work it out. And I'm the biggest proponent of working things out that there is. Because frankly, it does no good for you to pay us to litigate a case that we think we can settle. Where we are right now is we have been asking for some critical details. It deals with the, and I don't want to go too deep in the weeds on this without giving away some privileges, but we have consultants we've hired. There's a deck on the outside that holds water. We've been trying to find a solution to that. When I stand on those pavers, the water, like a little whale, shoots out, and that's not good for the deck. So we've been asking for the materials, and we've been asking for materials about a particular drain, a Schluter drain. I spoke with our consultant today. Frankly, she's adverse to me in a case, and I spoke to her at the lunch hour and said, "You absolutely have it." She said, "Yes, she shouldn't have to chase this down." Now, in all fairness to Morganti, we've been asking this of the architect, and he's been responding every time I ask him. He's trying to go to the manufacturer of the goods to get it. I still don't have it. I got a response today with a little bit more information. It came in at 1 o'clock. I was in a deposition at the time, and I just read it a little bit ago. It still doesn't give us the information we need. And we've been trying to work with the architect. We've been trying to work with Morganti. My concern is time, and at some point, we have to do something because the statute of limitations could run. And that's why we entered into the tolling agreement. So if you want to give them another chance, I mean, that's a policy decision, that's your decision. I need the information, so I go back to Ms. Wolcott and tell her what we need.
I would just encourage my fellow commissioners, again, because this is a legal matter, to be very cautious in reference to what you're going to ask or say or publicly state only until this issue is resolved, right?
That's correct. If we were to put them in default, we would be looking at filing a lawsuit against them. Once we file the lawsuit, then we could request a closed session and talk more about the details and the strategy for resolving that matter. Until we get to that point, we can't have that closed session. I would say that the tolling agreement that we did enter has expired. It expired in January. So if we are to talk about more time, I would also ask that the manager be given the authorization to sign off a tolling agreement that renewed and extended the tolling time to give us further protection that we don't run into a statute of limitations issue.
I would just say, I think safely, that we all have egg on our face right now. We all do. You know, I was there for that opening of that building, and what was going on, so we all have egg on our face, and we all have issues to deal with. I also agree with what the attorney said too, is that, you know, we're trying to keep things away from it. It's not about damaging anyone's reputation or future in their business, but we need to be taken seriously now. We should have been taken seriously a long time ago.
If I may, the agreement did allow for an extension, but if you were to ask my view, 6 months is what it says. I mean, come on, that's a lifetime to us. So I believe that they want to work with us. I just need to get the architect to give me the details so I can go. And it sounds like you're maybe inclined that way, but 6 months is
Agreed.
Madam Mayor, that's
I agree with
lifetime
you.
to me.
I agree with you. We've waited far too long at this point, in my personal opinion. You guys weigh in, please. Commissioner McQueen, put your hand up.
With all due respect, Madam Mayor, if you want to say you have egg on your face, that's up to you, but please don't speak for me. I would not say that. So just speak individually for yourselves. And please cut me off if I'm running into legal territory where I'm asking inappropriate questions. But could I ask, just for my own understanding, the gentleman from Morganti is asserting that he didn't know anything about this being on the agenda. And I'm gathering that he hasn't had much communication on it. Is that accurate to your understanding?
I think, Mr.
Let me
Kennedy.
address that if you would. I've been dealing directly with the architect's attorney. He was the point man for that. I've told him 3 times in the last couple of weeks that we are in a default mode. Did I send Morganti in there to this today? No, sir, I did not. But the person I was dealing with was well aware of the fact that we brought patients, the agreement had expired.
Okay, if I might follow up on that, Madam Mayor.
Sure.
I certainly want to get some of the issues resolved at the building. There are some issues. It's a challenging place to build. There's confusions about how that all works and so on. It certainly is not to the point that probably any of us would want us to be. I don't think it's good for Morgani. I don't think it's good for the architect. It's certainly not good for us. So there definitely needs to be resolution. It does bother me a little bit that we have on our agenda declare 3 entities in default, and one of them has not been communicated with.
Commissioner McCoy,
Or
part
at
of,
least that's
part
what I'm
of,
hearing.
part of the reason why we brought this issue to you tonight is because under the contract, the city has to declare them in default. So that would be this commission making that decision. There's actually no requirement that we have to notify them that we are going to bring this forward to the commission to ask them to put a default. The notice requirement would come after that. What we've been dealing with for the past 2 years is constant delays in getting a resolution to the issues at the building. And it's now come to the point where Mr. Kennedy has been talking to the attorney who's been the point person on this, saying the city is done, the manager is going through the roof on this. We've got to see some movement, and that's where we can't seem to get their attention.
Well, I think we've accomplished getting attention, and I guess I would, in the future, say that if we're going to, do things that have serious business consequences, we should be communicating with all of them, so that at least know what we're doing. To me, the request for 2 weeks, I'd make it 3 or something or other to give some leeway and let's get it done, but 3 firm. And I support the concept of, I think attention has been gotten, but we do need all the parties to sort it out, and we all know about, calling up Comcast, and Comcast says, no, it's actually the phone company, and the phone company says, no, it's Comcast. We're kind of done with that part, so between the architect and the builders, sort it out between yourselves, and let's get this done.
Vice Mayor?
Thank you. So we had no legal responsibility to tell them this is going to be on the agenda. They would be notified after we take this action, is that correct?
That's correct, and they've certainly been aware of the,
Can you tell me how long it's been since we first notified these folks about the deficiencies that were?
I believe in 2013, that's when letters were first sent out to Morganti, REG, and the surety as to issues at the casino building.
Right. I got to tell you, I would think that any company that's been around for 100 years has done so because they probably had some part of a good reputation. What strikes me as odd here is how that company could not get the other partners in the deal together to resolve this on day one. And here we are 3 years later. So I find it really, really challenging for me to swallow the Morganti as their hands are clean here as far as the length of the process we've gone through. Particularly when we talk about, when you reflect on the exhaustive discussions that went on prior to approving the project to begin with, and the monies involved, and what could be done and what couldn't be done, and some of the premonitions that were thrown out there to begin with. I'm not inclined at this point, unless I really hear a really good, compelling argument from somebody. I don't know where REG is, but the fact that they're not here tells me they don't probably care. Okay, and they've shown that, before in this room, as far as their mannerisms. So I'm not inclined to withdraw my motion at this point unless I hear something different.
Commissioner Meyer?
Thank you. I would have to reiterate the mayor's sentiment that certainly this has gone on long enough that all of the parties must have known that action needed to be taken. At the same time, while this is not a trial or a courtroom, this is an extremely public forum. Not only the people in the room are listening, but also many people receive this in their own homes and can access it on their computers. We, as the city, have 2 attorneys representing us today. I do think that it would have been wholly fair to give you the opportunity opportunity and the time to know that you would need to, at least in a presentational way, defend yourself in this forum today. So yes, absolutely, action needs to be taken. If there is some way to, without the city of Lake Worth taking on more damage to ourselves, at least give Morganti Group the time to represent themselves.
Commissioner Emerson?
You know, I kind of hear where everybody's coming from, but sir, you've been on our payroll for 2 years, 2.5 years.
Yes,
That's a burden to the taxpayers.
totally is, yes.
And, you know, we've heard from people coming in and saying, you know, they've gone somewhere else and haven't booked events and things because of the issues. And it's,
I don't know. Seriously, you're okay? Scott?
is that okay?
Yes, that's fine.
Well, it was public. It's already on the record. So, you know, that's concerning to me. So, you know, again, you know, could we've done a little bit better to let everyone know, possibly, but again, I agree with you that, you know, if one party knows, all parties know. And it's been going on for 2.5 years. So, again, my motion stands.
Would you like to? Oh, sure.
I just want to clarify one thing, because there's perhaps a misunderstanding. There hasn't just been radio silence. There was mediation last year. I pulled out of the file when I was in the West Palm office, here's an October 22nd transmittal from REG, where they're talking about certain tile textures, and I mean, I'm not an engineer. Pavers, and they're sending plans. There has been, it's important for this commission to understand that there has been correspondence and efforts on the part of REG. I mean, we are the builder. We build upon specs, but, I mean, REG should be here. I don't
Yes.
disagree. They should be here. But we're caught now, it's our bond. It's our bond. It's our reputation. REG knew about this days ago because Mr. Kennedy told them. We found out today. Now, I mean, I'm not trying to get over emotional, but they should be here. I'm here with no representation and just letting you know, but it's important because I heard Commissioner Maxwell say, you know, it's something there's been no correspondence. That's been ongoing. Has it been to the point that the city's satisfied? Obviously not. But I think it's important for you to understand that efforts have been made by REG, and we have pushed REG, but we're still not at that point. So I'm going back to my request. If you want to hold someone in default today, please not us. We'll work with you. I will push this. I will personally get involved. I'll get involved with Mr. Kennedy. That's my pledge to you. But please, today, don't hold Morganti in default. That ramification, I think Commissioner Meyer and Commissioner McVoy understand the ramifications to the construction company, even in a notification standpoint. I'm not suggesting, and the city attorney made it very clear, that this is the first step. That first step is an anathema to who we are. And I'm asking for that, working with us, we'll extend the agreement 3 weeks, 2 weeks, I don't care. Let's give us a chance to push these guys and try to get REG to do what they should have done. And we'll help. We're the builder.
Commissioner
Sorry,
Emerson?
thank you.
Question to our attorney. Who have you dealt with from Morganti prior to this gentleman?
Perhaps I can turn it over
Primary
to.
their counsel, and he's correct that we had that interplay. They sent us a mock-up. We had a mock-up. We sent it to our consultant, and we've been waiting for, I can't say the exact date, we've been waiting and pinging them back and forth with the specific questions about drainage systems. Frankly, if we had that, we would have an answer from our consultant, and I would be able to give you a lead-pipe answer back. This is gonna work or this isn't. That's what we're dealing with right now, the deck. We've met on the windows, we've met on some of the other issues, it's the deck. And there's a drainage system that I need to have some answers for. And I know that they've been asking the consultant for it, but I don't have it, and I can't tell you all one way or the other until I see that.
And then the second part of my question is, explain to us why his bond is in question tonight and it's not the architect. There's two
The
people involved.
architect doesn't provide a bond. The architect has, in a pure world, would have errors and emissions coverage. a contractor, and this is a big company, there's no doubt about that, they would also guarantee the performance through a surety bond. A surety bond is essentially an insurance company, but it is backed 100% by their promises, by their assets. So it's not really the kind of insurance that I might have from State Farm or Allstate. It's a different deal. It's more like a letter of credit. So it is a big step to declare them in default and declare their surety in default.
And for clarity for the people that are here and at home, it's because they hired the architect to work with them, correct? Or
No, the architect worked for the city.
Okay,
So if you're going to extend S1, I would extend to sue both. It would put me in a lurch of having to sue one and have them point fingers back to the other one that you're working with. That's your head. I don't want to go too far in my legal analysis.
Yeah.
Sure, I was about to suggest the opposite of that, which is, could we possibly separate Morganti Group out of this, giving them the time to represent themselves? If not, and I certainly understand the urgency from the city's position here, but I would please urge my fellow commissioners, this certainly is pulling at my heartstrings too, and I do know through my conversations, please stop me if I'm going the wrong way, through my conversations with the city attorney that there has at least been some response. I know that there have been suggestions made of how this could be rectified, not, like you said, not necessarily what we want to hear, but suggestions have been made. So I wish we could separate it out, but if we can't, I would urge my fellow commissioners not to go in this direction just yet, but to commit to going in this direction.
I think I'm comfortable with what I first came out of my mouth. I'm comfortable with giving them 2 more weeks. You know, we've waited this long, 2 weeks is not gonna hurt us. I mean, the damage has already been done. I guess when I mentioned the fact that we, not me, have egg on my face, us as a city, and the fact that that space still stands there, those issues still stand there, and I stared you in the face and said, we're gonna fix this, right? The last time you sat here in this meeting, we're gonna fix this, right? You remember that when you were here? And I took you on your word. And it's several years later, and I'm still sitting here, and that's what sets me on the thing. And 2 weeks is fine with me. I understand the construction business. My husband's in the construction business. I get it. But we need to be taken seriously. This is part of our operations and part of what makes our city tick, and this has got to be addressed.
Centerpiece.
Thank you. That's why I was so excited about it. When I got here and arrived, this was an important part of our growth.
We get it, and just so you understand, we can't fix this without the architect doing their role. I can't, we're builders, we work on specs, and as Commissioner Amoroso, or I think, please understand that you hired the architect. We work with the architect, we build based upon their specifications, but we don't have the ability, and we have tried to help with ideas as suppliers, but we cannot go fix this without an architect.
I think if I rebut that right now, I'll be in violation of what your legal discussions are going to be, so.
First of all, I appreciate what you're
Right.
saying, we'll take the 2 weeks if the benefit, we'll take that benefit.
Well, it's up to my fellow commissioners on that, but I would at least say, you know, I'm the person, I stand by
I know that.
my people, I'm here for the benefit of my city, and I looked you in the eye and I said,
And I looked you back and we said, yes, and I
Yeah.
still mean that, but I have to get, I think, the wake-up call in my anger is to the architect. And I'm now angry that the architect is gonna put us potentially in a position to default. And that isn't right. And that's where my anger now, I have to work with the attorney and work with your attorney.
can you imagine how we feel at this point?
I understand. If I was sitting there, I would be looking at me the same way. But I'd be looking at that architect and say, why isn't he here? And I'd be pounding my fist.
I already am too. I would ask my fellow commissioners, are you, I'm sorry, Commissioner Ford, you stand up first. Vice Mayor, did you have your hand up too?
Yeah, first.
I think there's some degree of agreement here. We recognize the seriousness of a declaration. I don't think we want to go there. I think we are hearing that you folks are pretty serious, you're going to make this work. My only concern is I don't want us to be in this situation in 2 weeks. Is 2 weeks from what you all know of the technical problems. We want it fixed. We don't care whether you use this kind of glue, that kind of glue, this kind of paper, that kind of paper. We don't care how you do it. We want it fixed. Realistically, can you get it, and I understand that probably doesn't mean all done. It means, here's the solution we're gonna go forward
Like a
with.
resolution.
Right.
City manager, did you have something that you wanted to answer as well?
I don't,
What might be a good solution if you're considering, kind of what I'm hearing, delay is to table this item until the next meeting. And that, honestly, from my perspective, having pulled my hair out on this for as long as I have, 2 weeks is not gonna do anything. It's not really a realistic time frame. You can already hear the squabbling happening. It's the architect, the builders, the builders.
Right, and we can't get into that in a month's
I
time.
don't care
Right.
about that. That's my.
Right. I mean, I-
Yeah.
I don't care.
I think we want to make that message very clear, that we're not very patient with this anymore.
Shouldn't be.
Between the two of you, you guys got to figure it out. So,
Vice Mayor?
Thank you. You know, I appreciate the position you're in. It strikes me odd, though, that a company of your size, and you're a billion-dollar corporation, cannot exercise a little muscle, if you will, on one of your partners in a project.
It's not a partner.
Okay?
It's not a partner.
Then
That's your
how
partner.
would you describe your relationship with,
We are a builder who builds based upon the architect's specifications. If anything, the architect would be your partner because they have direct privity with you. We work for you. We do not work for the architect, and the architect doesn't work for us. They work for you. But I'm not, Commissioner, at the end of the day, this has to be fixed.
correct?
And our pressure with REG is limited to the job we do. It's not like they work for us. They're not a subcontractor. It's not like a plumbing contractor that we can say, you'll never get another job from us. I can't do that because they're independent of us. So all we can do is say, look, come on, let's do it. But the point I was trying to make a little earlier was that as late as October, there is detailed specifications and tiles moving back and forth. I think the problem was that over the last couple of weeks, and I heard Mr. Kennedy, his frustration, you need, and he needs, and your consultants need, the proof that this solution will work. The last thing you want, and I don't blame you, as someone who works for a construction company, you don't want to sign off on something and everybody's, fat, dumb, and happy, and then 6 months from now, you got a problem again. You want to make sure it works. And that's probably the biggest problem we've had, looking at this thing to some degree, is everybody wants to make sure, the city wants to make sure, the Morganti wants to make sure, and the architect all want to make sure that at the end of the day, when this is done, you're partying on the roof with no issues. And that's been the problem. If there was just a solution, solutions have been given to the city, over the last year. We want to make it right.
Follow up and then we're going to move.
Okay. This is kind of how I look at this. I remember the whole process that we went through in picking the contractor and picking the architect. And one of the big things that was asked of both parties was the experience level on coastal construction.